Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Again, I want to thank you all for participating in this democratic process that we have in America. You are a very essential fiber to the blanket of rights that was embedded in the very doctrine that we all stand on and live with in these United States of America. And I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but this case is about a family. It's about an American family. It's about love. It's about dreams. An American dream most Americans have is to own a home, to own some property, to raise a family, and do the things that you love to do independently of anyone else. A family nucleus. The Stermer family was an American family. Marriage created an opportunity for them to grow together, an opportunity for them to purchase some land. On two occasions, this last occasion in which they purchased and they decided to build their own home. A family castle. Mr. Todd Stermer, Todd Stermer was very talented in reference to his skill sets of putting things together. And they set out on this journey with him, Linda, and the children, that they were going to build what they wanted to build on a lot of land that they could hunt, fish, be apart from anyone else, and have fun on their property. But it wasn't a totally isolated area. It was in the township of Lawrence, where most people have the same dream and desire to have some property, some space, to have their horses or the cattle or whatever pets. And it was the same thing with the Stermer family. They had horses, had dogs, cats, and had the vision of having many other things. They maintained their property themselves with all the natural and necessary machinery that goes with maintaining a large space of property. And so as the construction began, it got to a point where they realized that we've built this enough that we can move in. Even though it's not completed totally on the inside, all the build out wasn't completed, but it was enough to satisfy the occupancy for them. And they would continue the finishing of this project. And they didn't put a lot of money in a lot of fancy things. They lived in a common way. They didn't have a bunch of fancy cars. So stated the most important focus was the children, the school, their property, and the things that they enjoy among themselves. And in a township where the motto is, we grow together. And even though these neighbors lived far apart, they all knew each other. And so, on January the 7th, 2007, very unfortunate tragedy occurred. On that morning, Miss Stermer and Mr. Stermer are at home. He's upstairs in his favorite place, watching TV, fireplace. And Miss Stermer is doing standard household chores. She's down in the lower part of the house. And the children are gone to the movies. And I don't want to give you any misdirected assumptions, but yes, as all families, they had some problems from time to time. But as I stated yesterday, in marriages, you have good days and you have bad days. And you always pray for more good days than bad days. And even the bad days, we work them out. We try to work them out. And on this day, there was a conversation in reference to working out some family matters. And sometimes you don't want your children to be privy to some of the conversations that adults need to address as it relates to the totality of the family, including the children. Sometimes that could elevate up to separation, divorce. But these things are what should be discussed among adults, not in the presence of children. And so that was the reason why the children was gone to the movies at the suggestion of Miss Stermer, that they were going to talk about some family issues they didn't need the children to be privy to. And so that brings us back to Miss Stermer and Mr. Stermer being in the house alone. There wasn't any fighting. There had been some arguments. Nothing physical. Nobody threatening anyone. As a matter of fact, Ms. Stermer had earlier that day went to one of the local convenience stores. Gasoline for the car, purchased a few items, come back home, and she's there with her husband. And of all the things that could happen, she hears a scream that she's never heard before. A very scratching scream. And she runs upstairs, and as she gets to the top of the stairs, all she can see is fire. All she can see is her husband on fire. What could it be like to run to a door and see nothing but a gulf of flames and a human body that you can't get to? All sources of communication was in that room. Her cell phone. She had no way of calling anyone. And in a state of total panic and trauma, she runs down and she gets out of the house for the sole purpose of trying to go and seek aid, help. My house, my husband is on fire. She gets outside. It's cold, had rained, had snowed. The terrain around the house was not concrete. And therefore, she jumps in the van, a 1993 Ford. This is 2007. It's not a 2005. It's not a 2006. It's a 1993 Ford. She jumps in the van, and after she gets in the van, she tries to maneuver out of the drive. And then she sees Mr. Stermer, some kind of magical way but when he got out of the house, she sees him, she gets out of the van, and she goes over to him and does everything she can do to try to help. A body, the skin from a fire is coming off. Until she can get back in the van and go and try to seek some help. And as she attempts to leave, she doesn't look down on the ground in some kind of way because of the involuntary movement of his body. His body is positioned in a way in which when she attempts to drive out and back up and go forward, his body is up under the center of this van. By this time, the evidence will show that one of these very dear neighbors, several had seen the smoke in the sky. had called 911. And by the time one of the neighbors arrived, she was totally traumatized, and they said, "Where are the children?" And the evidence will show that they were finally advised the children was not in the house because everybody was concerned about who else was in the house. They could see the ball of smoke from a far distance apart. But no first responders are there for a while. Matter of fact, the very first people that are on the scene are all neighbors from the township of Lawrence. One individual was a doctor, not on duty, but he was a doctor. He arrived. You hear the evidence that there was a Mr. Matheny and his significant other, Miss Calhoun. They arrived. And because of his condition, they all was trying to figure out a way to provide some degree of comfort. And Mr. Matheny, who was a mechanic, opened his trunk and he had a lot of work clothes in his trunk. And he laid them on top of Mr. Stermer for some comfort. And the facts will show that where he was now positioned, there was a fuel furnace that was part of the heating system of the house that had been installed by the family, Mr. Stermer, as part of the building. Several individuals was concerned that this fuel furnace was going to explode. And so when the very first responder arrived, they decided to pick Mr. Stermer up and put him in a small little boat and move him far a distance from the house. And all at the same time, they're continuing to call in to 911, telling them, get somebody out here quick. And so when the first responders, I suppose the ambulance arrived, they did all they could do. But there's one part of this that you have to understand, the trauma that Miss Stermer was going through at this time. When they were calling 911, they're at the scene. There is a voice that in no shape, form, or fashion that a human mind could assume that this could be a fake voice or a voice to cover something up. Can we hear the voice?
p.m., 2nd January 7, 2007.
Good morning, this is the house on fire.
A house on fire, where?
County 150, 67030. My address is the house 44. I don't know.
030
My address is the house I'm waiting for it. There's people here.
You know if anybody lives there?
I do not, yes, they live here.
Is anybody inside here?
I don't know. I see people right now. I don't know if anyone's inside.
670.
It's great.
Is it north or south of here?
Oh my God. It's
Is it one person?
right before my house. It's right before. So it would be the number before me.
Okay, well that's park around the way. What's your name, please?
My name is it's Linda Stermer's house.
Linda Stermer?
Yes, oh my God, she's outside. I don't know if people did it. Oh my God.
She is outside now?
She's outside and she's screaming something to my boyfriend.
Okay. Can you see what she's screaming?
I don't know. I'm trying to get near the house. Like, I don't know where she is. Yes, she's freaking out. Oh my God. Please don't tell me something.
Are you able to go outside with your cell phone and see?
Yes.
We just want to know if anybody's inside or not.
Oh, very funny inside. Is there, oh my God.
There's someone inside. Okay, calm down. We got the fire department on the way there, okay? There's someone inside. I've been outside with you. Yeah. I need you to calm down so you can help me. Okay, just calm down so you can help me. Do you know how many people are inside? She said that it is. Is that Linda in the background? Okay. Where's your husband at? Okay. Can I talk to him? What's your husband's name? What's your husband's name? Is your husband inside your house? Okay. Can I talk to your husband, please?
From that point on, this whole tragic event has destroyed a life, it's destroyed a family, and we will be able to show you that the destruction from this fire, that there was a duty, an obligation for several individuals to do what was necessary to determine the origin and the cause of the fire. And that there is absolutely nothing through the totality of this investigation that puts any weapon in the hands of Linda Stermer. The links were never there. From this point, the investigation started with one person is alive and one person succumbed to the fire, and therefore one person must be the cause of the fire. That one person would be the person that they can talk to. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. The evidence will show that there was an accidental fire in a house, in a room that had burning candles, that had burning lamps, oil lamps, that had a fireplace, and that the location of where the fire started and how it began to grow was in the same room where Mr. Stermer was. Not where Miss Stermer was, because she was down in the lower part of the house doing laundry and chores. And they started their investigation with this rush to judgment. We are going to make something because we think. We have hunches. And what they did was, as she stated, when they arrived, one person decides that I'm just going to take the pants off of this individual that is lying here suffering and taking his last breaths. And what little he's got on, with a burned up body, I'm going to take his pants off because I think I smell an accelerant. And the pants that got tested, their laboratory say it came back with an accelerant. Don't say where the accelerant came from. But we will show that this oil furnace that was installed by Mr. Stermer is part of their heating system in the house, along with the fireplaces, that the oil furnace had some problems, and that from time to time the oil furnace had to be bled. And so in bleeding the oil furnace, Mrs. Stermer had done that the day before, and he had used some of the towels in the house, and these towels were left down in the lower part of the house. And so accelerant in reference to the household issues and needs on the outside was a common activity of use. They're going to tell you about a gasoline can. And on this property, they probably had 6 gasoline cans. Because what do you use gasoline for if you own a farm? every machinery you have is oil and gasoline, petroleum, and any one of those is combustible, right? Can start a fire. Sometimes with a match and sometimes without. But the facts will be, for sure, that the cause of the fire was not by a human act, but it was clearly because of some flaw that existed in the upper part of the house. So they take his pants. But what you will also know, that this very same day, evening, and moment after that 911 call that you heard, and when the first responders arrived, and Van Buren County Sheriff's offices arrive, you're going to know what happened was that they told Miss Stermer, "Can we have your clothes?" Evidence will show that she has laid down on top of her husband, begging and pleading, "Don't leave me." She has his blood on her clothes, hugging and embracing him. She had previously tried to pick him up. And they say when they realized that Mr. Stermer is not going and didn't survive, so placing him in the ambulance, it was now time for the coroner's office. But they told Miss Stermer, "Can we have your clothes? Come get in the ambulance." And one of the dear friends that lives in the neighborhood, in the area, had showed up also on the scene. She says, "I'll go to the house and get some clothes for you to put on." And so they took all of her clothes in the ambulance, gave them to Van Buren County officer, and the evidence will show that after they receive her clothes and she's able to put some clothes on that's brought to her from a friend's house, that they test these clothes, her clothes. She cooperated 100%. She didn't say, "You don't have a warrant? Am I under arrest? I don't need a warrant. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to find out what happened." But you wouldn't think that you'd be the immediate one, to the point that at this point of your life and you being totally traumatized and experiencing this wretched incident that's taken everything from you, your castle, your husband, your children's father. You want my clothes, but I'm going to give you my clothes. They take those clothes. They have them chemically, forensically analyzed. And the evidence will show that when the test came back, there was zero of any scintilla of any type of accelerant. And an interesting twist about all of this now is that we're thinking that this should be investigated by law enforcement, but all of a sudden, here comes the insurance people. And the evidence will show that Ms. Stermer didn't even know if their insurance was paid up on the house. There had been some financial issues. Things had gotten behind from time to time. But Mr. Stermer was in control of managing those affairs for the house. And the insurance people, they tell Ms. Stermer that no, your insurance was not paid up. But if you will go downtown and write a check to the insurance agent, we will consider your insurance back in force. And that's what she did. And then the insurance people, they started doing what they do, and many times what they do is to see how much money they can keep from paying out on a claim. And so they started this investigation of just trying to interrogate, take depositions, twist questions upside down so they could get the narrative that they wanted. And at the end of the day, they get their narrative. So they come out to the house 2 days after the fire, tell Ms. Stermer, meet us out to your property. Don't have the decency to say, come to our office. This lady is now homeless. The children are homeless. All the belongings are gone. But the courtesy that's extended to her, for the insurance, is that I'm going to drive out to your property that's been burned down, and I would like for you to meet me. And she cooperates. Her mother, one of her friends, and the insurance person says, we need to talk to you. They put her in their car, and that's where they conduct their interview. And then that's not enough, so they come back another day and do the same thing at the property, in the car. And Ms. Stermer has cooperated 100% with them through this whole process. Hasn't delayed, didn't do anything but whatever they asked her to do. And so that's within the first weeks, 3 weeks and months. And then all of a sudden they started providing some financial relief, temporary under the policy. And then what's more tragic about this is, as you said, this happened January the 7th of 2007. The destruction continued for almost 2 years. Before any charges were filed. They went on every degree of a witch hunt that you can imagine. Every person that knew Miss Linda Stermer, they went and talked to. It was so grotesque that they even started looking at Mr. Stermer, the deceased, as the cause, maybe, of the fire. But what they never did was a true investigation for the origin and the cause of the fire. And the evidence will show that because of the fact that they can never and did never try to make any attempt to determine the cause of the fire, they have absolutely nothing that they can put in the hands of Miss Linda Stermer as causing the arson or the fire. And therefore, there is absolutely nothing of an element that they can meet of an arson. Talk about an affair. Talk about some disgruntled friend. Talk about somebody that had a dispute with you, that don't like you. And you're going to use that and connect that to say, okay, we can go all the way back to 2 years ago and we can make this show that, yes, she committed this fire. They go as far as when they do arrest Miss Stermer, they put her in jail. And they put her in jail with other females. And shortly after she's in jail, the evidence will show they start pulling people out of the jail. You know this Stermer lady? You were in the cell with her? She tell you anything about her husband? She tell you anything about what happened, why she's in jail? Yeah, she says, I'm in jail because they accused me of burning my house down and my husband died, and so they charged me with murder and arson. But every last one of these people that they spend a whole lot of time interviewing in the jail, every last one of them give them a different narrative of what they think they want to hear. And we call those people jailhouse snitches. But I leave you with this. Every last one of us is blessed to have the rights that we have in America. Accusations are accusations. But that fiber that I talked about earlier, that presumption of innocence, that beyond a reasonable doubt, Those are some very, very strong threads that we get to wear every day. In this case, throughout the duration of this trial, you won't hear nothing from the defense other than the fact that there is no direct evidence, there is no circumstantial evidence. And the beauty of all of that is that the law states that you can't convict someone on conjecture. You can't convict someone on speculation. You can't convict someone because somebody didn't like the way she talked. You can't convict someone on somebody that you think that they was having some type of look or an affair or a conversation with another person under any shape, form, or fashion in America. That's not our society. That's not our foundation. Our foundation is what it's supposed to be, and you have the evidence that we're going to present in the defense of Linda Stermer. That justice shall prevail for this lady who's had to suffer through all of this since that day of January 2007. And you will bring back what is fair and what is just under the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of this state, and the laws that are so embedded in each one of our lives. Thank you.
We'll take our morning break at this time. We'll take about a 15-minute break. Please remember the admonitions for those who are the day before. No discussing the case with each other or anybody else. Do not look at any news reports that may come your way. If something pops up on your phone, for example, delete it immediately.